reports. Our meteorologist, Gabe Mander, he was out there, but that kind of came after the flood warning, I think, expired, or they may have done it a little bit earlier, but still kind of dealing with some of those effects at this moment in time. But a flash flood warning, it's not going to, I'll have to take it off. Let me go back behind the scenes and do that. That way we can continue talking about that. Put that, oh, I forgot it'll take the entire thing off. Let's see if it'll let me click it anywhere, or is it always going to be the watch? Well, that's a shame. I can do it behind the scenes. The flash flood warning, that is set to expire within the next 2.5 hours still, unless mine has not refreshed. Let's see. But we're still dealing with that as heavy rainfall continues to affect you guys. Okay, 2 hours and 22 minutes. So still have a ways to go with that flash flood warning, but that's just due to that heavy rainfall. But as you'll see here, I'd be curious. Let me click out of that. Looks like it missed it. As you'll see here, kind of within that flash flood warning, and especially that area, we're starting to see that rainfall start to leave it. So hopefully that's it, and we don't have to talk about any more warnings getting issued. But if these storms were to continue dropping heavy amounts of rainfall and just continue to move very slowly, we could start to see another one get issued, but that is not the story just quite yet. So hoping to keep it that way, and I'll make sure to monitor our chat in the background to see. But we're still talking about, okay, that was the tree reported earlier on. So there's a tree down blocking the roadway around 440 to 450 block of Clarafoot Road. I think that's what we were talking about earlier. So we're still taking a look at this severe thunderstorm warning. Very energetic. We're almost about to hit almost 900 strikes. So these just continue to climb, showing that these storms are just very healthy as we continue heading into the next few hours. But really wanting these to continue pushing out of North Mississippi so we don't have to deal with them all night long. But that continues to be something that we're keeping our eyes on. Let's go back towards our Philadelphia camera. Let me clear my throat. See what that is showing us out there in the distance. Of course, quite a few flashes of lightning. 84 degrees, feels like 88. That dew point right around 70. I think we're not experiencing calm wind. I bet it'll be a little bit breezier out there, so I don't think that one's getting reported very accurate. But I mean, you can see, oh, there's great freeze rain. We just saw a bolt come on out. This is all rain that's occurring. And we saw that just due to a lightning strike out there in the distance, showing you guys that heavy precip and then kind of drier conditions further out here. You wouldn't guess it until we saw kind of a lightning strike kind of illuminate the sky, at least further out in the distance, closer towards the surface. And that one's still not doing its justice. But we saw it for a brief second, which is how heavy that rain continues to fall. It was, it's kind of a drawback. During the daytime, oh, it just happened. I was covering it up. During the daytime, it's a lot easier to see those bands of rain continue to fall and kind of jut out, bringing some of those gusty winds, and we can't see the lightning. Now at nighttime, we can see the lightning very, very easily, and we're not seeing that heavy rain quite as dominant as what it was. How long till the storms pass through the viewing area here in Alabama? I will say models will kind of showing that those are going to just start to develop and continue throughout the next few hours, or at least they were very aggressive on the storms kind of the northwestern portion of our region. So it depends on where you are here in Alabama, past the viewing area in Alabama. So I'm assuming you're talking about Franklin, Marion, Lamar, Pickens. I think for the most part, those storms, they're going to continue to stay further north, and we're going to still see somewhat of that southeasterly direction. To where, I mean, development is still possible as this kind of front continues to sit over North Mississippi, providing some lift. I mean, we can see some of that activity trying to start out here towards Marion, Lamar, but we're not dealing with that same level of intensity. That continues to be a positive to where if we are dealing with it, I mean, it's a little bit energetic, but not the great scheme of things. Total strikes are coming in at around 9. I'd anticipate those to kind of climb just a little bit as we're kind of seeing some new ones pop on up, but a little heavier downpour just outside of Rock City between that and Lynn, or just west of it and kind of right on the county line. But as far as seeing those storms develop, still have a ways to go if we were to see that. But that's why we want to keep our eyes on not only here in North Mississippi, but what that looks like heading into the evening overnight period, which is, again, Something we'll discuss a bunch coming up throughout the next few hours here. Somebody else saying the lightning looking towards Amory was phenomenal. I know, I think a lot of us, especially once we can get out of these thunderstorms, watch it from a distance. It looks fantastic and we can enjoy that, but we definitely don't want to be right under it. So I think that definitely will kind of put a sour taste as we're wrapping up the evening for those still under the severe thunderstorm warnings. But again, once we get out of it, it looks pretty nice. So we're going to continue to zoom out here, continue to focus on what is happening here within our coverage area and kind of the surrounding areas, which means I probably just need to zoom out. Honestly, let's just do Mississippi entirely. We're dealing with several severe thunderstorm warnings. That's not only for our coverage area, but more towards central and southern Mississippi. We're dealing with some west of us out there in Arkansas. We're dealing with some east of us out there in Alabama. It's just kind of the pattern that we're in as this front continues to dig further into the southeast, bringing some of that cooler, drier air, colliding it with that humid, moist and stable air we've had to deal with throughout the past few days here. And once we get that with the energy that we have here in our atmosphere, we can get quite a few storms to pop on up and then be on the stronger side with all these ingredients that we have in place. Let me see here. A new discussion just got posted and I want to know how long they were expecting these to keep going. Risk of strong severe downburst. That was another term we were talking about yesterday. The kind of the wind gust could continue for another hour or two, but hoping to start to see kind of a downtrend. So we still have a bit to go with these storms continuing to kind of pop on here in North Mississippi and just kind of maintain its strength. But as you can see here, for most of our viewing area, you can definitely tell where that activity continues to be and where it's not, so we can start enjoying the rest of our evening and heading to bed, which I'll pull up my other radar behind the scenes. That's the convective discussion they just posted and talking about maybe watch. Okay, so yeah, that's further into central Mississippi where kind of this cluster is continuing to head on out. So, oops, I zoomed out a little bit further. Let's go back to North Mississippi here. As we're dealing with some of these showers and storms continue to move on further and further south ever so slowly. We're dealing with this flash flood warning, which of course I still can't click on, unfortunately. And those severe thunderstorm watches you can kind of see mixed in that green. Those are those watches that were issued earlier on today. But we're dealing with the severe thunderstorm warning for Montgomery. Let's see, Carroll, and now I need to distinguish the two. Okay, there we go. So we're dealing with it for Choctaw, Montgomery, and Carroll. That is set to expire at around 9:15, but we're also dealing with another warning encompassing more of your viewing area, or at least your county, for Carroll, down into Holmes, Atala, Winston, and Choctaw yet again. That is set to expire at around 9 o'clock. So I'd be curious to see whether or not they continue this warning and if they're still seeing that severe weather with it, or if they're kind of confident that it's remaining below severe limits as these storms just continue to ring out throughout the night sky. I mean, energetic regardless, but we're hoping not to see the wind gusts or hail associated with it. And speaking of hail, let me turn that off so we can kind of see this a little bit better. And let's go take a look at our peak threats and see how that has kind of started to shift. Oh yeah, that's doing a lot better. You see, notice how it's a lot of that kind of lighter shade of pink, and we're really not talking about that darker purple starting to pop up, especially you can see here on the scale. We have been talking about that quite a bit throughout the afternoon hours and into the evening, just due to the capability of some hail here in North Mississippi. We've seen the evidence. We've seen you guys send in reports. Thank you so much for doing so. It allows not only us, but the folks down there in the National Weather Service to know what these storms are capable of, or what they are actually providing and kind of dumping out, and that helps them understand when to extend, keep warnings, start to cancel them. So y'all have done a fantastic job today, and I hope everybody continues to stay safe and we can hopefully limit the amount of damage throughout the rest of the evening. But the hail threat, I would say, continues to decrease. We saw that with our severe weather threat outlook just a few minutes ago as we were talking about the threat for damaging wind gusts, what prompted that level 2 to be issued and kind of upgraded here in North Mississippi. We were initially talking about that large hail risk. We saw it earlier today. They have since withdrawn that from North Mississippi and believe that the hail threat is pretty much kind of over, at least with its peak intensity, heading into the rest of your evening overnight period ahead. So that continues to be a positive. I do like that we're seeing kind of the lightest shade of pink here, meaning the confidence very minimal. And again, this is peak impacts, and it's almost kind of more situated for kind of severe weather season where we see these fronts and widespread kind of higher end events occur. So this is kind of during the summertime, it can maybe overdo it at times. So that continues to be good, that we're even on the smallest scale of confidence and not quite seeing that. We can even take a look at our hail track. I think this is going to pick up on a lot of stuff from earlier on. I am also very curious to see if you guys just southeast of Kosciuszko did end up getting some of that hail, because if we were to go back, so just kind of remember where that was. I'll see if I can keep my hand still while I switch this over. We'll go probably past 2 hours, and I'm going to make sure I have it lined up. I'll go back to reflectivity. If we were to back this up, I remember seeing some of those brighter returns. Yep, right around. Yeah, right around there. So would not be surprised if some of this storm kind of kicked out some of that hail, lofted it through the updraft and kind of just spit it out here in the southern portions of Atala County. I mean, you could see just those dark returns that we're getting here. Let me zoom in for you guys. That way y'all can see exactly what I'm talking about. And we can pixel this so you guys can see that actual measurement. See, there we go. And then click on it. Yeah, this is when I was talking about we were definitely over 60, and it would only pop up around 50, so I wasn't getting it in the right spot. 66.5. That means the radar beam up in the sky is picking up on either a lot of rainfall or something really, really reflective. And typically with a value like that, it's picking up on something highly reflective, kind of scattering that beam back towards the radar site. And that means we were probably dealing with some hailstones lofted up in the updraft that the radar beam kind of picks up on as that storm was continuing to build on up with its strength. So would not be surprised if you guys out there just southeast of Williamsville towards Dodds, Smyrna, north of Nile, you guys probably saw some hail in the southernmost portions of Atala County. But thankfully, if I were to zoom this out and we kind of see how this has trended, it's not quite keeping that same level of intensity. We saw how it starts kind of dying on out, still dumping heavy amounts of rainfall. We can almost see some more start down here. And I think that's because another warning has just been issued. So we're going to deal with that, continuing to push kind of further into max south or coverage area. And it just continues to kind of just see a train of these severe thunderstorm warnings continue to push further and further south as these storms are inching. I mean, not even really moving in that southeasterly direction. They just slowly continue to move further and further down there. So let's even take a look with our Jackson radar site. See how those storms look. A little bit stronger down there towards McGee, Collins, just south of Forest. This is kind of for central Mississippi, so not within our coverage area, but we're still dealing with some of these showers and storms being on the stronger side as it continues to move on out of our area and digging further and further into central Mississippi. So this warning was issued, and that is set to expire at around 9:45. This is for Leake, Neshoba, Kemper, Lauderdale, and Newton County, and I'll actually need to move this over. Yeah, so Newton, and that's set to expire around 9:45. I'd be curious to see what these other warnings are when they're set to expire: 9:30, 9:15, and 9:30. Okay, so we're going to hopefully see those warnings start to expire at their respective times. And I am personally curious on the warning that we have here in our viewing area, at least one of them. I think our northernmost one has a good chance at expiring at 9:15. Let's see if this is, yeah, it's pushing further and further southeast, and I'm not seeing too much kind of back building. So that continues to be a good sign. Yeah. Okay, so I'm expecting that, and they just issued another one. So there we go. It's going to continue to be a mess here. This new one that they just issued is for 9:45, as they are trying to give everybody a good heads up on these storms continuing to just ring through the night sky, and just quite a few rumbles of thunder. I mean, we could take a look at our cameras yet again out there, and let's go Maben, because I set that up, the west side of Starkville. Let's do the West Starkville camera. That should be a good one. I think, unless it was the Maben one. I I think it was that one. Yeah, there we go. We still have this one at a good spot. 79 degrees, feels like 82. And those flashes of lightning continue to ring just left of this camera. And I think I'm going to go with my gut. I'm pretty sure it was Maven. That was the camera I moved to get a better visual on those storms. Now, it may have inched slightly out of the frame, but we're still seeing quite a bit of that energy continue to just ring out. And I know it's probably just very loud, constant rumbles of thunder. Anybody trying to go to sleep right now under that severe thunderstorm warning, probably not enjoying it, as just it's constant rumbles of thunder just continuing to crack and just loud no matter where you are under those warnings. So those are going to continue, unfortunately, as we're still dealing with just energetic storms moving through North Mississippi. The National Weather Service down in Jackson really giving everybody a heads up as these warnings continue to be issued with this cluster as we continue pushing further and further towards the 9 o'clock hour here in the coming minutes. So we're going to continue to monitor these as they continue to slowly move further and further south. Somebody else asking, what about Tishomingo County tonight? We can zoom back out again, kind of reset here. As you guys are enjoying dry skies, we were talking about some severe thunderstorm warnings just on the outskirts, pretty much of the county line out there in northwest Alabama. We can back this up for you guys to where that was occurring. Let's see. Yeah, you guys probably already got most of y'all's activity with that storm eating up a lot of energy further up north. That was around the 7 o'clock hour. That shifted and pushed a little bit further east where we saw that severe thunderstorm warning actually occur. It's not a good visual because we're using our Jackson radar sites. Let me switch this over to the one out there in Columbus and Monroe. You guys were dealing with that severe thunderstorm warning earlier on. That was around 7:43, excuse me, not Tishomingo County, but northwest Alabama was. And that has continued to edge closer and further east and away from you guys out there in Tish. So overall intensity, I would say that y'all are still good, but most models continue to push more and more thunderstorms kind of within the overnight period. I think our peak intensity occurred earlier on today, and what we're kind of dealing with right now, kind of as far as like the remnants of severe weather, hoping that that is not going to continue into the overnight period as that daytime heating just continues to be cut off. We're not dealing with just the constant influx of heat and allowing all those warm kind of air and parcels to continue rising, but these thunderstorms really acting on what's left here in North Mississippi before it can officially move on out of our area. So we're still dealing with quite a few warnings on the southern portions of our viewing area. And if you'll excuse me here, I'm going to walk off screen just because I need a sip of water because I've been talking for a little bit. I want to make sure I can keep going for you guys. There we go. I feel a lot better. We're energized. We're ready to go. But we're still taking a look at these severe thunderstorm warnings that are continuing to push pretty much into Attala County. I'd say you guys are experiencing most of the action right now, which means before we do that, let's take a look at our Ackerman camera, as you guys probably aren't in that blinding rainfall anymore. And I might have to shift this behind the scenes. It looks like we're already getting a good visual on that. Let's see. Ackerman. And then we want to look probably southwest. So we're looking northwest. Yeah, okay. And if I were to move this, we have a preset for it. Let's see where that'll take us. Okay, there we go. And then if we were to shift this just ever so slightly back and then just a little bit further down, gotta be a little bit nitpicky. There we go. So yeah, still very energetic. You can see a droplet still on the camera lens as you guys were dealing with some of that heavy rain, but I mean, still quite a few drops on the camera lens as the lightning continues to flash out there in the distance outside of Choctaw County. You'll see behind me, y'all are still dealing with several severe thunderstorm warnings, but the overall storm and intensity, that continues to stay further out west. So you can barely see it kind of clipping the county with that rainfall, but you guys still under those severe thunderstorm warnings just in case it continues to kind of build and inch closer and closer towards you guys. So I think the National Weather Service, especially with the pattern we've been in lately, what they're doing is making sure you guys kind of understand what is going on around your respective area. Even though you guys probably aren't under it, it could continue to shift and kind of build up and inch closer and closer towards you guys. So that's why they're issuing all these warnings, to give everybody a heads up and make sure they all know everything that's happening. Excuse me, I clicked off of our analysis mode, so there we go. Let's continue to track several severe thunderstorm warnings down here in the southern portions of our viewing area. I think our northernmost one, that is set to expire at 9:15, so we still have another 20-ish minutes to go. But I think our 9, I think we had one that was going to expire at 9, and that's probably not there anymore because they started issuing these that are set to expire at 9:45. So yeah, we still are dealing with quite a few warnings. This is for portions of Choctaw, Montgomery, Carroll, portions of Holmes, Atala, Winston. Now we're getting closer towards Philadelphia, so Neshoba County and towards Leake, and even further on south towards Scott and Newton, Mississippi. So we're still dealing with these severe thunderstorm warnings to continue kind of affecting you guys further south of our area as these severe thunderstorm warnings continue to just kind of get issued. And you could take a look at kind of the overall, let's see, we're around 8:57, so let's just go 7:57. Perfect. So this is where we were at an hour ago. I can't say started. We've been at this for a while now. But we can see that thunderstorm pretty much along Highway 82 almost, even a little bit further south. And if we just go an hour, I mean, you can still see the further kind of progression of it dipping further south. But I mean, it's not moving that far. If we were to measure that out, I mean, I know some of these showers were starting a little bit earlier. I mean, 30 miles. But even that is overdoing it. These storms aren't really moving at 30 miles per hour. We would see these clear out of our area a lot quicker than that. They just kind of continue to form, build, sit, meander, I think is almost a better word on the placement and kind of progression of these storms. We're not seeing an organized system or a frontal system that we would see kind of during the severe weather season here in North Mississippi, kind of a just widespread showers and storms pushing all across our region at one time. We're just kind of dealing with just a disorganized pop-up showers and storms building on up, bringing all of its mass up there before dropping it all on us. And that is just going to continue into the evening as we see several severe thunderstorm warnings just continue throughout the rest of the next few kind of, I guess, hour ahead as we're going to continue pushing towards 9:45 or is when most of these are set to expire. In fact, I think most of these in frame. So this is 9:45. That should be 9:45, 9:45, 9:45. I think our only one is this one further up north, which makes sense. That's set to expire at 9:15. Would not be surprised if it didn't take us that long to get there just because we are seeing that southerly, southeasterly kind of progression of these storms to continue digging further south, and you guys pretty much almost out of that severe weather entirely. So not expecting this one to stay for too much longer. They might keep it towards 9:15 just in case it does back build ever so slightly. But we're going to see that one leave pretty soon, and then we're just going to deal with the other three that are still kind of almost on top of each other, but showing the progression on what these storms have been taking, what they could continue to take throughout the next few well, I would say hours just with how slow they're moving, but we don't really want to deal with it for the next few hours. At least for you guys out there in Atala, y'all aren't going to deal with it for that long. It's just going to continue to push further and further out of our viewing area before dying on out completely. So again, very disorganized, very messy. It's all kind of fighting over the same moisture and fuel out there. And like I keep mentioning, the sun has set. We're hopefully not going to deal with more, well, we're not going to deal with more of that daytime heating, but we want that to continue to kind of not play a factor as we head into the evening overnight period ahead. Now let's take a look at the comments. You guys were asking, are we good in Amory and what about Boonville, Mississippi? So let's take a look at that here. Somebody else is commenting about different phones saying that there's 2 small rotations just south. We're not dealing with that today. I know sometimes the Barron system will like to kind of highlight an area for us to look at if we're missing it. That is not part of the, or that's not really on the table as we go about the evening overnight period. We're not dealing with anything tornadic or anything rotating. Now, me and Gabe are looking at some storms earlier that they would kind of look like they were going to try
At Vibe Aesthetics and Wellness, we believe confidence isn't just how you look, it's how you feel. From subtle, natural aesthetics to personalized wellness care, everything we do is intentional. This is beauty with purpose. At Vibe Men's Health, we take that same approach. We focus on what matters most: strength, energy, and performance. Built on real data, real medicine, and real results, we're here to help you look better, feel stronger, and live fully. Come vibe with us today.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 9.
Oh, I forgot I probably should walk over there because that's where this show is going to start. But let me just bring it over here towards the wall as we're dealing with more severe thunderstorm warnings ongoing here in North Mississippi. Thankfully, we're not quite seeing that same level of coverage that we were seeing earlier on this afternoon and evening, especially for you guys out there towards Pontotoc. I know y'all dealt with several threats earlier on today as we were talking about heavy wind gusts, the potential for some hail, some flash flooding. Y'all pretty much had all of that occur within y'all's respective county and further up north. Now that activity has continued to stretch further on south as it inches closer and closer out of our viewing area and more into central Mississippi. In fact, if we were to kind of zoom this out for you guys to see what's all happening within the Magnolia State, it's pretty much just a direct line of severe thunderstorm warnings just continuing to extend further and further south. So that's the development, the movement of these storms, even though feels like they're not moving, and that's honestly because they're not. We're staying pretty still and just inching further and further south, southeast. But we're also talking about some severe thunderstorm warnings further out east for you guys along the Alabama-Tennessee state line. We're also talking about some further out west for you guys out there in Arkansas across the Mississippi River. Just kind of a moist, unstable air mass here in North Mississippi colliding with that cooler, drier air that is starting to funnel into our state. That will help us feel a lot better heading into the evening, overnight hours, or at least throughout the next few days. But we have to get through kind of these stormy conditions first before we can really start to reap the benefits. And that's why we want to keep you guys updated on it currently ongoing here in our viewing area. But right before we wanted to start the 9 o'clock broadcast, I know you guys were asking about Tishomingo County, Amory, Boonville. Y'all are staying dry at this moment in time and should be throughout most of the overnight period. I've had the opportunity to kind of check the latest models here because we've been looking at kind of everything ongoing right now, but some models have put in some showers and storms continue to develop into the overnight period. So I'd like to see how that has changed eventually when we get to that coming up here in the next few minutes. But y'all are enjoying much drier and calmer skies. In fact, we could take a look out of our Amory and Boonville cameras here. So let's take a look at that here. Hopefully they're all still online. I don't think we received too much activity out there in the Boonville region earlier today. 82 degrees, feels like 91. That's a sign that y'all didn't receive too much. Y'all are still feeling a little bit warmer than those temperatures outside. 9 degrees warmer to be exact, but really enjoying clearer and dry skies and kind of some of that convective debris out there in the distance. But let's take a look out here in Amory and Smithville region. You guys are also dealing with dry skies. 77 degrees, feels like 79, so doing a little bit better off out there in the northernmost portions of Monroe County, but feeling just slightly warmer. But again, upper 70s, 9 o'clock, not too bad, especially for this time of year. We're typically talking about still low to mid 80s, and a few of us, unfortunately, kind of in the 90s. But that continues to not be the story for most of us. There was a flash of lightning out there right before we switched. Out here in Amory, 77, feels like 77, dew point 77. So 777s, that should be a sign of good luck heading into the evening overnight period. That continues to be a good sign as we're enjoying calmer conditions further up north out there in Monroe County. Now let's transition here because I know we did start the 9 o'clock, so I can switch this back. I don't think I actually have the clicker on me, so I might have to grab that off screen. Of course, I won't have that saved here. So we could take a look at some of that model data as these severe thunderstorm warnings continue. We've been covering that for a while here. They're going to kind of continue to sit still here. I'll load in my show here behind the scenes. So bear with me for a second as that continues to work its way in and start to load on up. but everybody's continuing to tune in. I've been pretty impressed with lack of comments. That's always a good thing with severe weather, as far as not having too many questions or concerns. Y'all continue to do pretty good heading into the evening, so it seems like y'all are feeling pretty good. Let's take a look. We'll start off with our surface analysis, kind of see what's going on behind the scenes within our atmosphere and why all of this is occurring here. So we have this cold front, and that's a little bit further north and might be just a little bit behind, but that's going to continue to try to make its way further south into the southeast, and it's funneling in that cooler and drier air into North Mississippi, and that's why we still have chances for maybe some showers and storms to develop overnight. I think the overall peak severe weather intensity, that's currently ongoing, but we can't quite escape those rain chances just yet heading into the overnight period. So let's actually take a look at some of this model data. This will be the latest look at it, and I think I'm gonna have to go in and I'll just manually drag it because I don't have my clicker, and we can go through it piece by piece together. So we're starting off around 9 o'clock, already not doing the best job with placement, but it's also not doing a terrible job. I mean, most of North Mississippi staying dry. We are seeing those heavier showers on the southern portion. That should be shifted just a little bit further to the west, but we are dealing with some of those heavier showers in northwest Alabama and right along the state line. So in the grand scheme of things, not terrible, but honestly kind of underperforming some of it, especially with central Mississippi, not seeing too much of that activity. But as we drag this over, it is okay, continue at around 10 o'clock, continuing closer towards midnight. We're still seeing that development, say, a little bit further south, but as we get closer towards 1 to 2 o'clock, take a look at how that front starts to enter North Mississippi, and it is just, oh my goodness. Let me back this up. I don't know if I can do it on this monitor. Okay, let's see. I think it's, if I look at this, it'll look a lot better. Okay, there we go. So we're starting off around 1 to 2 a.m., starting to see some more of those showers and storms kind of push into North Mississippi. This is due to that cold front bringing in some of that cooler, drier air, still colliding with some of that humidity, that unstable air mass. And that continues throughout the overnight period, but we're really not seeing those long track just intensity as well. We're going to deal with some lingering moisture in the early morning hours, but as far as like heavier downpours, rumbles of thunder, that's going to be, at least of right now with this latest look, that's between 1 to maybe 3 o'clock before it already starts kind of drying on up. And as we continue throughout the rest of our early morning hours, still some development a little bit heading towards mid-morning, closer towards lunchtime, and then we can start enjoying those drier skies as we head closer and closer towards lunch and into the afternoon hour. So when we were talking about those rain chances for your Friday, most of that's going to occur kind of within the overnight time period into your early morning hours. There's still always a chance with the afternoon storm chances, but now that we're talking about drier air finally making its way into North Mississippi, those afternoon storm chances really start to diminish. So that continues to be a positive, and especially if we see some of that morning activity, that's what we're going to see a lot of coming up here throughout the overnight period. So let's take a look at the next 24 before we'll send this to a break here. It's just struggling. One more. There we go. Let's see if it'll get there. There we go. And we're just going to click that. We're going to let that be. We're taking a look at our next 24. We're dealing with some of those showers and maybe stormy activity a little bit earlier on before 6 o'clock, before we can start drying on up, dealing with that lingering moisture, starting off in the mid 70s, working our way up towards the low to mid 90s. You can already tell we're starting to feel somewhat of that relief creep into North Mississippi. For you guys further up north, y'all will enjoy it a little bit more. And as we head into tomorrow evening, still dealing with some afternoon showers and storm chances, but really not as dramatic as what we've had to deal with throughout your Monday, your Tuesday, your Wednesday, especially today. Those rain chances going to be much on the lower side of things as we get ready for some Friday night football. That will continue to be a positive and hopefully enjoying drier conditions. But coming up in the next 60 seconds, we're going to take a quick break here, but also discuss your news and all the questions that you have for, I guess, news related here in North Mississippi. Our Emily Leonard will be covering all of that, giving you the very latest, and then we'll make sure to get back towards our severe thunderstorm warnings currently ongoing here in North Mississippi before they kind of creep on out of our area. So all of that will begin coming up in the next 60 seconds as we continue right after this break.
When C.K. Little opened his doors in downtown Corinth nearly 80 years ago, his plan was simple: deliver excellent service and exceed expectations. That's why we say a little gift goes a long way.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Reserve your St. Jude Dream Home giveaway ticket by August 28th, and you'll be eligible to win the house and the bonus prize, a 2026 Polaris Ranger, courtesy of Dream Day Foundation. Visit dreamhome.org or call to reserve your ticket today. For years, it's been the same formula. If it bleeds, it leads. You deserve better. We are Mississippi Live. We're focused on the stories that matter to you, to your community, to your family, because local matters. We are Mississippi Live.
Friday, August 21st, don't miss the Tupelo Super Show benefiting St. Jude, featuring the legends of Memphis Wrestling. Reserve your seat right now at memphiswrestling.tv.
I'm serious, man. I actually drive better when I'm on it. It just helps me focus. It just helps me focus, you know?
I have been going to Tupelo Smiles my whole life. When I was a kid, I was unhappy about some uneven coloring on my teeth after getting my braces off, which at the time there really wasn't a fix. I was recently made aware of a solution that would totally fix it, which is exactly what we did. They not only heard my concerns, but they never stopped looking to solve my problem, and that's why I love Tupelo Smiles.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's meteorologist Caleb Edelblut.
Well, thanks for sticking here with us for Mississippi Live at 9. We'll have our Emily Leonard come up here in the next few minutes, but let's take a look at our 7-day forecast as we're still talking about rain chances tomorrow. Now, we're at 20% coverage, and most of that's going to occur throughout the overnight, kind of early morning hours as we cross midnight into those AM hour period. But we're starting off in the mid-90s and kind of sticking that way into the weekend before we can start talking about low 90s. Rain chances a little bit more prominent on your Monday as we can continue enjoying cooler skies and still return back to that summertime pattern heading into your next work week. Now, temperatures right now, or current conditions, 77 degrees here in Tupelo, feels like 99. Still seeing some of that southerly wind blow in around 5 miles per hour out of the southwest to be specific, but eventually we're going to start to see that arrow come out of the north, and that's what's going to make us feel a lot better heading into your, well, I guess weekend coming on up here soon. Now let's take a look at Futurecast. I might have to manually drag it because the pause points might be a little bit different and not where I want them, but we're going to see these stronger storms continue to push on out of our area, and we're going to return to dry conditions briefly before we can start talking about some more stormy conditions pushing in kind of throughout the overnight period. Now, not really seeing that same level of intensity as what we dealt with earlier, so really hoping to not be kind of a overnight threat as we get ready for our evening period and kind of into our Friday morning, but still going to deal with some of those showers as we're starting off our Friday morning work commute and getting ready for the last day of the work week. And then we're going to be set to go heading into your weekend. Now, low temperatures looking pretty fantastic. We're actually talking about low 70s all across our region, especially for you guys in pretty much the most northern portion of our region, coming in 71 in Corinth, Iuka, and Red Bay, 71 out there in Hamilton. Not bad to start off a Friday morning and getting ready for the weekend. Starting to show that relief. It is making its way here to North Mississippi, and we can start finally enjoying it together. Now, your school day forecast, low 70s by drop-off, upper 80s by lunchtime, mid-90s by the last bell. Those rain chances, again, going to struggle a little bit more tomorrow, not off the table completely, but with that drier air starting to funnel into North Mississippi, that's going to make us not only feel a lot better, but enjoy these conditions a little bit longer. So let's take a look at Futurecast. This is that front that's going to continue to move into our region. As we continue pushing through kind of the early morning hours, we're dealing with some of that lingering moisture, but we're already enjoying clearer, drier, and sunny skies by 12 o'clock tomorrow, as that front will bring in some of that northerly wind. We can see it just a little bit further north across the state line out into Tennessee, but we're not going to deal with that relief just immediately, just quite yet. Still take a little bit to kick in, but take a look at that. Northerly wind continue to allow us to feel a lot better heading into your Friday afternoon. That's at 3:30. Not quite talking about those rain chances either. We're going to continue to stay dry and enjoy some Friday night lights as football season kicks off for high school. It's going to be a fantastic evening tomorrow. I hope you guys tune in. It is going to be a great time. Now, high temperatures. Again, two different stories depending on where you are here in North Mississippi. Low 90s in the most northeastern portion of our region as you guys are enjoying that northerly air blowing across a little bit earlier and longer, but still triple digits for the southern portions of the Delta. 101 in Greenville, 100 in Belzona. Depending on where you are, depends on how hot you're going to be. Now, feels like values following the same trend. We're finally actually talking about double digits here in our viewing area. Going to feel fantastic as we're getting ready for the weekend ahead, but a few triple digits continue to linger, and with that, heat advisories will as well. Now, more and more counties continue to be clipped out of these advisories as we head into your Friday tomorrow, but they are set to expire tomorrow evening, so we're going to have to deal with it one more day, but hopefully come Saturday into your Sunday, more and more of us won't have to worry about it, and we're going to feel a lot better. Now, your severe weather risk, we're not really talking about that for your Friday, as drier air will continue to move into our region. It's going to be a great change of pace, as it feels like we've been dealing with almost every day here in North Mississippi. So let's take a look at your strike model now as we get ready for your Friday evening and into the overnight time frame. I'm going to press play on that, and hopefully that will do a little bit better. So we're starting off around 6 o'clock. Strike and her agreeing on those drier conditions continuing here in North Mississippi. That continues to be an excellent thing for our Friday evening. As we continue even towards the 10 o'clock broadcast, absolutely fantastic. Make sure to tune in. Very excited to start off our Game of the Week broadcast yet again for the upcoming football season. It's going to be a grand old time. But heading into the rest of your overnight time period, we're going to continue to stay dry and clear. It's going to be a fantastic start to a Saturday morning and the official start to the weekend. Still enjoying those dry skies. And as we get ready for the lunchtime hours, those rain chances a little bit more prominent further out west, out there towards Arkansas, most of North Mississippi continuing to stay dry. But those rain chances, this is why they're not off the table completely. We can see some of those showers try to creep in the most northwestern portion of our region, affecting some of us here in North Mississippi. But as a whole, we're enjoying these drier conditions across a majority of North Mississippi due to that northerly wind continuing to push on in. So that will continue to be the theme heading into your Saturday and into your evening overnight time period. Not quite talking about those rain chances just as much as we have been throughout the work week. So hopefully we'll start to kind of enjoy a much calmer and just more enjoyable weather pattern heading into the next few days. Now, your high temperatures continue to improve. We're now talking about mid to low 90s across North Mississippi, 92 in Red Bay, 93 Iuka, 94 in Boonville. But again, for you guys out there in the southern portions of the Delta, coming in 101 in Greenville, 100 in Belzona. Not too bad if 2 zeros follow behind that one if we were to talk about triple digits, but I know you guys are really looking for some relief, and y'all are going to start to get there. We're talking about dry heat. So you were coming in at 100 and 101, but feels like only 103 and 102. So not feeling dramatically warmer than that temperature outdoors. We're not quite talking about that humidity and that unstable air mass here, because what's occurring right now is driving all of that out of our region. So again, we're dealing with that severe weather now, but heading into tomorrow, the weather pattern starts to shift for the better. We're going to feel a lot better. And one way to tell just how nice we're going to feel heading into the next few days is your heat indices. Take a look at that. We just continue to decrease. I mean, this is our peak throughout the next 7 days. Feel better on your Friday, even better Saturday, even better Sunday. It gets even better on your Monday. So it's going to be a fantastic start to the next work week. We don't want to talk about it yet. I know we are looking forward to our weekend, but of course that mugginess, it can never stay away from North Mississippi for too long. We're going to still deal with some of those humid conditions come midweek next week. Now, take a look at your 7-day forecast again. We're talking about those rain chances. That's going to occur overnight into your early Friday morning hours before we're still talking about a much drier weekend on your Saturday and Sunday. Again, can't quite escape the rain chances completely, so kind of imagine 10% on your Saturday and Sunday. As of right now, Saturday looking a little bit more prominent on those rain chances if I had to pick between the two. But again, we're talking about drier conditions continuing to funnel into our region. And then come Monday, we're talking about low 90s, and that's going to continue into the work week as that humidity will slowly start to build on up, which brings some of those storm chances back on your Wednesday, and we'll just return back to that summertime pattern. But let's take a look back here and analysis to take a look at those severe thunderstorm warnings that we're still having to endure here in North Mississippi. We're actually out there in Alabama, and there we go. That northernmost warning that we were talking about kind of towards the top of this show has ended. And I don't know, I want to know if they ended it early or if it was at 9:15. Let's go back and see. Oh gosh, I'm going way too far. Okay, 9:10. I bet they went all the way. 9:15. Yep. Okay. So that's going to continue to be the theme, especially with how slow these storms are going to continue to be throughout the next few hours, or at least, I guess, next hour or two here for our coverage area. They're going to keep these warnings going pretty much until the last minute, just with them barely moving out of the warning and continuing to kind of just develop and sit still. So we still have another 25-ish minutes to go on this severe thunderstorm warning out there for Holmes and Atala and portions of Choctaw and portions of Winston County. You guys are all under that, and technically even portions of Montgomery and Carroll. Y'all are still under that warning. Now the good news is that expires at around 9:45. I believe this one does too, further on south. Yeah, 9:45. And then 9:30 for the one out there towards Newton. So hopefully within the next 20 or so minutes, we can really start to escape these warnings unless they start to issue more. Would not be surprised, especially with how this one is going just south of Kosciuszko, starting to cross the county line out there towards Leake, Mississippi. So that one continues to try to keep its strength, and we can take a look at this a little bit closer now as we continue analyzing these storms here just outside of our viewing area. I mean, take a look at those brighter returns. We're actually going to have to take off the lightning for you guys to see this. I mean, that is what we're talking about with blinding rainfall and the potential for some hail heading into the evening hours. And I guess we're really much into the evening hours. It's about the overnight period. So let's take a look at our threats. I would not be surprised if are we looking out of Columbus or Jackson? We were looking out of Columbus. So let's take a look at the threats with that. It's probably a little bit darker. Yep, there we go. So we could start talking about some hail just north of the Atala County line, kind of bordering with Leake County. So we're going to continue to deal with some of that hail as it shifts further and further southeast ever so slightly. So make sure to continue staying weather aware, stay indoors. Don't go out looking for any of it. Of course, we'll keep our eyes on any reports that you guys have for those potential hail sightings down there in the southernmost portions of Atala County, but would not be surprised if maybe we were talking about pea to dime sized hail. Don't think it's reaching that 1 inch in criteria. I mean, we kind of struggled to get there earlier. Now, we definitely had quite a few reports and examples of 1 inch in diameter or greater, but we also had a lot more kind of going in the right direction for those storms to produce that. I don't think we're quite at that level here at 9:17. So I think we're going to continue to stay sub-severe with hail, but it's not completely off the table at this moment in time. And of course, for any of you guys tuning in now, we're not discussing any tornado threat throughout the overnight period ahead. This continues to be wind-driven, partially hail-driven. They have removed that, but as you can see here, we could still deal with pea to dime-sized hail kind of dropping through. Looks like Matt's calling me really quick. Hello? Okay, perfect. Sounds good. And I can just advance it? Can I just advance it, I'm assuming? Oh, okay. Okay, I'll continue kind of going through threats, and then once I'm done with threats, we can do it. Okay, perfect. So yeah, let's take a look at the threats just one more time, and just to recap this before we go cover our news. We could deal with some hail here, the southernmost portions of Atala County, but heavy rainfall continues to be the main concern as these warnings are set to expire within the next 20 minutes. So coming up in the next few minutes, we will continue to discuss these severe thunderstorm warnings as they get ever so closer to expiring, before we could potentially see some more continue, but that will come up right after this break.
Hello and good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here on Mississippi Live. I'm Emily Leonard. Thursday's storm seemed to just sit over Pontotoc County and just stay there, dropping rain, hail, and lots of wind. Mississippi Live meteorologist Gabe Maynor went out to the community, hearing firsthand what happened.
Cleanup efforts are ongoing after a severe thunderstorm moved through Pontotoc.
It is what it is. You can't fight Mother Nature.
Tommy Robbins was at work when the strong storm moved through the area. When he got home, he couldn't even get into his driveway.
Well, we've got this tree, 2 more in our main yard. It's going to take a little while.
Tommy's home wasn't the only one to receive damage. Up Friendship Road, Miss Charlotte Jenkins had her own damage to report. Her barn had the roof completely ripped off. When she walked out the door to see the damage, she described it in one word.
Blessed, because it could have been a whole lot worse, but it's not. It wasn't my home, it was my barn.
Looking back on the storm, both Charlotte and Tommy are feeling grateful.
I'm just thankful that there's no more damage than what we got.
And I think everyone in Pontotoc would agree with Tommy.
Time to go to work.
That was our Gabe Maynard reporting for us. Itawamba County's new courthouse plans are getting close. Board President Donnie Wood says the project is in the design and development phase as architects work out electrical, HVAC, and other details. And this is what it could look like. Here's the timeline. Construction documents are expected late September, early October, with bidding to follow in October and November. Just one snag. A circuit judge requested courtroom layout changes, pushing the timeline back just a couple of weeks. Wood hopes demolition site prep will be ready for new construction by early spring of 2027. The project is estimated at $16 to $17 million. The county's already set aside $14 million, mostly from state funding. Wood says the goal's pretty simple: build it without raising taxes on Itawamba County residents. By the way, the old courthouse will be torn down to make room for the new one, but they are looking at ways to preserve its rich history. $1.3 billion. That is the price tag on 170 construction projects currently underway at Ole Miss. Chancellor Glenn Boyce says that the work will shape the university for decades, calling it advancing our mission. Big ones to know: new student housing at Kincannon and West Row, a new School of Accountancy building set for spring of 2029, and a new parking structure and data center upgrade are both expected to finish early next year. Now, beyond campus, several fraternity and sorority houses are also under construction or renovation, including new houses at Alpha Chi Omega and Sigma Alpha Epsilon. He announced he is running for Mississippi Attorney General and just a couple of days ago, and he already is on the campaign trail. Current Commissioner of Public Safety Sean Tyndall spent a little time in Tupelo this morning as part of his campaign kickoff tour. He started in Gulfport and Jackson. Today, he was at Crave in downtown Tupelo and then went up to South Haven in the evening. Current Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch announced earlier this month that she's going to be running for governor, so her seat's going to be open. The general election is set for November of 2027. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Mississippi Live. I'm Emily Leonard.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's meteorologist Caleb Edelblut.
Well, big thanks to our Emily for giving us the latest on news. Let's continue analyzing these severe thunderstorm warnings, and we'll keep going as long as they are here to keep you guys informed. To recap here and kind of just start from the top, we're dealing with severe thunderstorm watches. You can see here on the green boxes, that's for pretty much the southern half of our viewing area, and those are going to be set to expire at around 10 o'clock. So still have another almost 30 minutes to still deal with that. And it looks like we're actually not at the current. Let me put that to now. I want to make sure we're looking at the latest stuff here. So we're starting off around 9:29 right here, and we still have a ways to go until kind of these warnings clear on out. Most of those set to expire at around 9:45, so another 15 minutes or so as long as these continue to not get extended or more get issued, but we could see more development further on south. Northern half of our region, our coverage area here in North Mississippi, you guys are staying dry, but like we talked about before our break in the news, could start talking about a few showers and thunderstorms continuing to push into North Mississippi overnight tonight. So we're going to keep our eyes on that, but of course, before getting ready for the next batch of storms, we got to get through this one first. So we were looking at the peak impacts. Before we cover that, because we just were on that, let's take a look at reflectivity here as that continues to inch further and further south, kind of out of our viewing area, Atala County. Let's see if our cameras have a good spot. I'm just gonna have to keep looking over here. Let's see if I can line that up, time it just right. Oh goodness. Let's see if we can get that Ackerman camera on. Let's see. That should hopefully pull it up. We're not getting there? Whew, it is struggling. All right, let's try again. I think that one got it. All right, we're probably going to see quite a few flashes of lightning south because this should still be facing that way. Yep, wow, on cue. Great bolt from the cloud all the way to the ground, which means, unfortunately, we could still be dealing with some power outages as these energized storms continue pushing further and further south. So if they were to strike a tree, it falls on a power line, strike a power line, we could still deal with that heading into the next few minutes, kind of more and more into the evening overnight period. But 77 degrees out there in Choctaw County within Ackerman feels like 77, but we're just talking about constant flashes of lightning with those storms as they continue to push further and further south. Again, struggling to, which now that we are talking about storms further south, we might be able to see some of those flashes with our Kosciuszko camera. You guys are under that warning. Yeah, there we go. So 81 degrees feels like 84. We were saying you guys would feel a little bit better once these storms, unfortunately, eventually make their way closer towards you guys, but we're still dealing with some of those showers, and I'm starting to think that that's not a police car. That just might be a new blue light they installed because I haven't seen that before. Wow. Okay, so there's some more cloud to ground strikes as we continue seeing that out of this camera down there in Atala County and the Kosciuszko. So energetic. I mean, you are going to continue to hear these just loud cracks of thunder as they continue to just rumble through North Mississippi. So for any of you guys probably within the severe thunderstorm warning and are trying to go to bed, unless you're a deep sleeper and aren't bothered by thunder, you might have a little bit to go until you can really do so peacefully, at least without the loud noise continuing out there in the background. Looks like raining and flashing again in Atala County. Well, there you go, Jason. We're looking at that right now with some of those bolts continuing to make their way down towards the surface, unfortunately. Lights out in Singleton, Mississippi. That was reported by Trey in our comments. We have somebody else tuning in from Starkville, Mississippi, Laurel, Mississippi. So glad to see you guys all in the chat. And let's take a look at our power outages here. We'll have to do it through links here. This is, let's see, that's not going to do it right there. It's going to take a few seconds to kind of catch on up. Let's just take a look at kind of our numbers there. There we go. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to pixel some of this as well. So down here towards Atala County, I mean, we're going to continue to kind of increase, unfortunately, as we're up to 1,000 customers without power in Atala County, 100 in Choctaw. Let's get closer towards Eupora. That's around 200. And let's see if I kind of put this, I just saw something get taken off. Was that a watch? Yeah. Okay. So Alabama already, it looks like some of the severe thunderstorm warnings are actually kind of being pulled off as well. Oh wait, let me actually take off the power just maybe the entire watch came off. I think it may have just been for Alabama. Yeah, okay, so we're still dealing with some of those severe thunderstorm watches in place right now. Those are set to expire at 10 o'clock. So National Weather Service down there in Jackson probably going to continue that all the way up until the 10 o'clock hour before they reevaluate and decide whether or not we still need to see those around for a little bit longer. If we were to see some watches get extended or issued, I think it'll be further on south from our area, as you can clearly see that that's where most of the activity continues to occur, further on south. Let me clear DBZs off and move that further on south. Yeah, it just continues to inch further and further south, kind of into central and southern Mississippi. So if there were to be another watch issued or in place, I think it's going to affect you guys down there towards central and southern Mississippi. But for us here in North Mississippi in our coverage area, I'm not expecting to see that continue heading into the next few hours, at least once those are set to expire in the coming 30 minutes or so. But let's continue to break down these severe thunderstorm warnings that are ongoing here, kind of in the southernmost portion of our viewing area. We're starting off out here in Atala County, and we can see that flash flood warning a little bit further north, but thankfully you guys not getting much more of that rainfall at this moment. So hopefully the drainage system, all of that can start to kind of catch on up. Let's take a look at the rain rate with these storms. I mean, they continue to be heavy to extreme, pretty much within most of these storms all across North Mississippi today, dumping much needed rainfall. But again, we don't need it that fast or in such a little amount of time. Our ground drainage system, it can only take in so much at one time. And it's kind of a lose-lose, especially because if we haven't received rainfall in a while, it takes a while to catch up. If we have seen rainfall in a while, the ground's already soggy, it's taken in a bunch, and it'll struggle to kind of keep ingesting it almost. And we've seen quite a few showers and storms throughout the past few days here. So flash flooding concerns, that has been one of the topics and kind of threats that we wanted to emphasize with you guys. And we've already seen 2 of those warnings get issued today. But if we were to take a look out here towards Kosciuszko, kind of within that pink shade, we're talking about 4.5 inches per hour. We can start to see some of that extreme appear just north of Carthage. I mean, we're talking almost 8 inches an hour. If we were to line that up with reflectivity, I mean, there you go. We're talking about some of those brighter returns, and it is just heavy, heavy rainfall, blinding rainfall. Now, I would hope most of us are kind of settled indoors, not really having to worry about that, as we are not really trying to get to any evening overnight plans, that we should be kind of ready for the rest of our night to get ready for our weekend tomorrow. But we're still dealing with some of those heavy, heavy downpours, blinding rainfall, constant flashes of lightning. And the reason that these warnings are kind of really weird on where they issue and they're not set for counties is because we kind of continue to see this development of just heavy downpours continue to pop up here in North Mississippi. And so that is why for you guys out there in homes, although the showers and storms were kind of further northeast compared to Yoss County, it continues to shift south, but we can still see some development further out west, and we're still seeing that at this moment in time. So for you guys out there, and Carol, I think you guys are almost good to go throughout the rest of the evening once this continues to push further on south. Hopefully not going to see too much back building. We haven't seen that as much as we did earlier this afternoon and evening. But we can still kind of see some of those heavier downpours kind of in the southernmost portion of Carroll. But for you guys kind of just south of Winona, north of Vaden, just southeast of Greenwood, I'm not expecting you guys to have to be in that warning for too much longer. So although typically they probably shave it, they're probably going to keep it the entire time before this will expire within the next few minutes. So we still have a ways to go, but we're getting closer and closer with these warnings. And I think, let's see if they're all set to expire within 9:45, 10:15. So there we go. We still have that one further on south outside of our coverage area. That's set to expire at 10:15. So a little bit longer for that warning. But for us here in North Mississippi, we're getting closer and closer towards drier skies. I can zoom this back out. That way you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about here. We're dealing with this warning kind of for you guys out there towards Winston, Choctaw, Tala, Holmes, Carroll County. That is set to expire at 9:45. And then those warnings are kind of south of our region. And we're enjoying temporary break from all of these showers and storms, and really not wanting to deal with any of that severe weather component heading into the overnight time frame. So that continues to be good news. We do still see some of those severe thunderstorm warnings continue to kind of fire off further out east towards northwest Alabama. Models did pretty good. We were discussing that earlier on this evening at around 6 o'clock with those broadcasts that we had. And we could see kind of some more showers starting to build on up in northwest Mississippi with those models. And we're starting to see that right now, the 9:30 mark, which just makes me want to go back and kind of continue to see that model to see what it had throughout the rest of the overnight period. And look at that. I covered up for you guys. Let's see. I'll reenact it. That way you guys can kind of see what just happened. I'll move it out of the way. There we go. We have those severe thunderstorm watches out there in the Delta. And then if we go to current conditions, you guys are now out of it. So that continues to be a positive, not expecting much more of this severe weather to occur into the evening overnight time period. So seeing more and more counties get shaved off from those watches. And that's exactly what we want to see as we continue to wind down for bed and get ready for our overnight period so we can officially kick off our Friday morning and almost to the weekend. So that continues to be a positive. So let's continue to take a look at the severe thunderstorm warning. Let's go look at our cameras. And we could take a look with our Starkville West camera. That should probably still have a good visual on everything happening down in the distance with quite a few flashes if it were to load. And let's make sure we're looking the right way. Let's see. Let's look behind the scenes. Starkville. Because I know we're not too far away. Yeah, we're looking too far northwest, actually. Let's look further on south and move this over. Don't want to go too far. It always kind of lags behind. Of course, it's not spinning here. I'll just have to come back and do that behind the scenes. It is, oh, there we go. Starting to see some of those flashes of lightning return. There we go. And we're starting to see some of that stormy activity a little bit further on south. There's those constant flashes. We can move this down just a little bit so we're not looking too high in the sky. Oh, there we go. We almost got that. Perfect. Yeah, there we go. So still a great visual on some of these storms continuing to fire off further on south, away from Oktibbeha County. So you guys are good. Y'all are still staying dry and uneventful, which is always good here in North Mississippi. We'd like to keep it that way. But let's go take another look out here in Ackerman as these storms continue to push further and further south. You guys almost out of the warning entirely, but still Choctaw County dealing with some of those showers and storms, some of those flashes of lightning. I was actually about to start covering it up, kind of occurring on the middle and right portions of your screen here. But 777s, that continues to be the theme all across our region. So that's definitely a good sign that we're returning back to calmer conditions as these continue to push further south. But we're still getting great views of kind of these bolts that are still occurring, which is unfortunate because that also means we could still deal with power outages. That's what I keep mentioning every time we talk about these lightning bolts making its way all the way down from the cloud towards the surface. So that continues to be an issue along with these heavy wind gusts. And you can even see some of the heavy rain bands when the lightning kind of lights up the frame just perfectly there out in Ackerman. Let's take a look. Oh, actually, let's take a look out here in Carthage. And this is, yeah, I mean, we're in the storm down here in Carthage. 81 degrees, feels like 84. I mean, we're in those flashes of lightning, but we can't see anything because we're in that blinding rainfall right now. So you guys out there, I mean, I feel like I need to put a flash warning on this screen with just how constant these lightning strikes are and continuing to kind of illuminate your screen here. So feels like 84. Y'all are going to continue to cool off really quickly as this lightning continues to ring out just south of our viewing area. Let's see if we can get another great shot out here towards Philadelphia and might be just kind of outside of it so we can actually see what was happening out there in Carthage. I mean, yeah, there's those flashes of lightning. 81 degrees feels like 84, of course. Pretty close to where you guys were in Carthage, so not a surprise that those temperatures and feels like values are pretty similar. So yeah, again, I mean, energetic storms continue to just fire off all across North Mississippi. But I know some of you guys are asking in the comments, Troy saying lots of lightning. Thank you for your work. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We want to make sure to keep you guys updated. We have an excellent team and love being a part of it and helping everybody out. So definitely glad that you're tuning in. Raining and flashing again in Solid County. That's what Jason mentioned earlier. Meteorologist Taylor Hunt saying you're doing great, Caleb. Busy day. Very busy day here in North Mississippi, but I appreciate you for tuning in and saying hello. Let's take a look out here in Tupelo as we're enjoying some drier skies. Reporting station, unfortunately, down, and probably most of them will with how eventful we were. Let's actually go to Pontotoc. That was an eventful place earlier on this afternoon and evening as you guys dealt with hail, wind gusts, just blinding rain, flash flood warnings. I mean, honestly, everything. And take a look at this. This is something I want to mention because I know this is a popular debate for those that don't know about it. Heat lightning, not a real thing. What you're seeing right here down here in Pontotoc and what you would see kind of down the surface is what would look to be heat lightning because it was so far away. No, those are actually thunderstorms. You can just see it from that far away. So it's always really cool to kind of see the night sky kind of light up out there in the distance. It's not heat lightning. That is not a thing. Unfortunately, it took me a long time to learn that. I think I've been interested in weather since I was a little kid, and I think somebody finally told me when I was in middle school or high school. I kind of thought that was a real thing. So heat lightning, it's not real. You're actually just witnessing a thunderstorm occur that far out in the distance, and you're able to see it. So kind of really cool to see that out there in Pontotoc, and I know you guys are definitely enjoying drier and calmer skies. Don't want any flashes of lightning or rumbles of thunder to be heard for a while with what you guys had to deal with earlier. out here in Houston, again, y'all are doing a lot better compared to where y'all were earlier. Our reporting station's unfortunately going to be down. Y'all probably went through, I mean, not probably, y'all did go through quite a bit. Maybe that lightning continued to strike that camera in the tower. Thankfully, we still have our feed, but the overall reporting station not coming in. Let's take a look out here in Forest before we kind of finish our tour here throughout our cameras. Oh, I thought it just went out. Oh, okay, so we still have it. This lightning, I mean, really, this is probably looking up straight in the sky. And the camera just kind of can't keep up with it, which is how constant it is. So 79 degrees feels like 81. Constant flashes of lightning, continued sound out there in Forest. Definitely hearing quite a few rumbles of thunder as well. Let's see. I just always love our cameras. Let's go down here in Calhoun County, see if we can get another shot of some of these thunderstorms out in the distance. So this is out here in Pittsboro, and I actually want to turn this one south if it's not already, which I just saw a flash of lightning. So it probably is, because I don't see it here on this screen. It is facing northeast. So I bet it's looking at some of those thunderstorms happening out there in Alabama. So there you go. Another prime example that it's not heat lightning occurring out there. It's actually just kind of some thunderstorms continuing to sound out in the distance. So we're looking northeast. We want to look south. I bet you're going to be able to tell exactly when we're facing the right direction. Let's continue to look. This is further east. It can't be. Let's see. Let's keep going. I know you're going to miss it right before. There we go, because I always overshoot it. So let's go back just a little bit. Take a look at kind of those constant flashes of lightning. There we go. We almost have it lined up perfectly. Sorry, my system's kind of just a little bit behind. It's been working hard today with everything going on. But we're talking about quite a few flashes of lightning still with those thunderstorms out there in the distance. This is out here kind of viewing it from Calhoun County out in Pittsboro, and you can see it off in the distance, just constant rumbles. And there we go. Those are those crawlers I was talking about earlier towards the top of a thunderstorm when we were talking about the anvil and how it kind of hits the tropopause. There's a max limit of where clouds can actually develop. So it hits that, starts to fan on out, and we can see some lightning all the way from the top of those cloud tops. So kind of really cool. I like teaching y'all random stuff as these storms continue to move on out of our area. So we are now getting closer towards 9:45. There we go. And we also saw another warning get issued further out west. And honestly, not surprising because of the kind of development that we've seen further out west. And unfortunately, that is set to expire all the way at 10:45. So still got a ways to go for that as it just continues slowly inching on out of our region. But for most of North Mississippi, we're continuing to almost be warning free. We're still dealing with that out here in Holmes. Most of those showers and storms continue to push further and further south towards Leake County, getting closer towards, I need to freshen on my central Mississippi counties. Scott, is it Newton? There we go, Newton County. So you guys are still under that severe thunderstorm warning, which that one has been extended. That is all the way towards 11 o'clock later on tonight. So you guys still going to hear quite a few rumbles of thunder, experience flashes of lightning all throughout pretty much the next hour or so as it continues moving on through Neshoba, Newton, unfortunately portions of Kemper and getting closer towards Meridian and Lauderdale County. Y'all will have to deal with some of those showers and thunderstorms, but out here towards the southern portions of the Delta, we're dealing with that all the way up until 10:45. That's for Holmes and getting closer towards Yazoo City out there in Yazoo County. So that it will continue throughout the next, well, a little less than an hour. So we're still going to be talking about that here. Coming on up here in the next few minutes, that flash flood warning, I don't know if I'll be able to click on it yet because it always clicks on the severe thunderstorm watch, which they did extend that. So that is set to expire midnight. And I want to know how far north that goes. It's kind of blending in. So that's for Octibahaw. I bet you Lowndes is probably included into it. Noxubee. So yeah, we did see portions of this kind of get extended towards midnight as additional development could continue to occur. But I would expect that is for kind of this cluster. As that continues pushing further and further south, the chances for those stronger storms to develop, I would say, kind of greatly decreases as we head into the overnight period. So we're almost out of it. Again, most of North Mississippi doing a lot better. Wow, I just saw a great shot with our Pittsburgh camera behind the scenes. It was one of those crawlers yet again. But a good portion of North Mississippi almost warning free. It's for you guys out there towards Holmes County in our coverage area where we're still dealing with some of those showers and storms, but we are finally returning to drier, calmer, and honestly, I can't even say milder conditions. We're finally starting to feel a lot better here across our viewing area. That continues to be an excellent thing. We're dealing with that flash flood warning, but thankfully not really going to see any more rain added to it at this moment in time. So the ground, the drainage system, it'll slowly start to catch on up. I know Pontotoc received one earlier. Y'all are under that aerial flood advisory at this moment in time. But again, we're getting closer and closer towards drier and clearer, calmer skies here in North Mississippi. But I want to keep going as we get closer towards the 10 o'clock broadcast. So we'll get that fired up here in the next 9 minutes or so, but we're just going to keep going, kind of chugging along as these warnings continue sounding across North Mississippi, especially for you guys just west of I-55 and pretty much just along I-55, kind of seeing this additional development. So that severe thunderstorm warning is set to expire at around 10:45. If I were to kind of zoom in on this, we could take a look at kind of that additional development that continues to occur. Now let's see here. Let's move that down here a little bit. Okay, and then we'll move this back over here. Let's just see how this has. Yeah, I mean, they just kind of form and it just sits still. I mean, barely moving southeast. I mean, you could argue it started maybe around, Lexington, kind of that small little bubble. That was all the way around 916, 915. And it just continues to expand, build up with that updraft, and just slowly moves down Highway 17. I'd say the funny part with these storms today is that every time we're talking about the movement, they always seem to follow one of the highways. So that continues with Highway 17 out there in Holmes County. But that is exactly why that severe thunderstorm warning has been issued. And I am curious about kind of that development right there. Some of those brighter returns starting to come in. Let's take a look at our peak threats. And honestly, let's switch to our Jackson radar site. That can give us a little bit better visual. I'll kind of compare the two. Yeah, our Jackson site is going to be a lot better for these storms as it's kind of pushing closer and closer towards that radar site. But let's take a look at our threats. Again, we are still dealing with the potential for some hail. Our strongest and kind of most probable, if we were to talk about one, is during that kind of development we were just talking about and just southwest of Carthage as well. So we're still dealing with the potential for some hail. Now the overall intensity and I guess the peak, no, I think intensity, I don't know why I'm trying to look for other words. We kind of went through that earlier on today. We did find some hailstones. Our meteorologist Gabe Maynor saw some in real time. You guys have done an excellent job sending in those reports of 1 inch or greater hail, or even not even meeting that. But the overall intensity for that, I think that has diminished into the overnight period. Now we're still going to talk about it, but it's going to be more of those pea-sized hail, dime-sized hail, something that will probably quickly melt once it makes it towards the surface, especially with how heavy this rainfall is, but especially for that kind of this spot right here. That's probably our best spot to see some hail kind of fall right along Highway 25, just southwest of Carthage. We can take a look at that and how it matches up with reflectivity. I mean, let's see, was it from something earlier? No, I mean, that's probably still... I mean, I'd say that's a little bit more impressive just east of Carthage as those storms continue to kind of develop and push, but thankfully losing some of that value and kind of brighter returns throughout the past few scans. So that continues to be a positive as these storms continue to push closer and closer towards you guys in Walnut Grove. And I haven't tried it yet. It's going to be pretty hard, but honestly, with these storms still kind of maintaining its strength, let's just try to do kind of a storm track on it. I want to know how fast they think it's going. It's moving very, very slow. I want to look behind the scenes with this warning. South at 10. Yeah, we'll go 15 just to overdo it, to give you guys a heads up. Because honestly, these storms, I mean, they really haven't disappeared completely. That was one of our concerns earlier, but they continue to kind of keep its momentum as we continue pushing into the evening overnight period. So let's kind of draw this out with that leading edge. Honestly, no. Let's clear that off. We can kind of start to see some of that boundary starting to form. And so we're going to go off of that because that's where you're going to kind of feel that gust of wind, and that could develop some showers. And you can see that kind of right here where my mouse is about to go. Take a look at that blip. That's that outflow boundary starting to kind of force some of that warm air up. So let's go. We're just going to go kind of, we'll go a little bit southeast. We'll go something like that, 10 miles per hour. And then we'll kind of read through this really quick. We'll change it, kind of extend it a little bit further. And I'll zoom this out for you guys. That way you guys can see what all we drew on out here. And I'll step out of the way so you guys can see everything that's happening. So Decatur right around 10 o'clock. Piketown around 10:06. Jeff 10:12. Eureka around 10:13. Same for Blount Store. Lebanon around 10:18. Clifton 10:19. Gum Spring around 10:24. Wolf 10:33. Pines Bluff 10:38. Branch 10:45. And Bilbro's Corner, that's around 10:48. And these warnings, I mean, not even expiring until 10:45 or 11. And that's exactly why they have these going for so long, because we're not seeing these showers or storms move that quick. And I did it along that gust front because that's where we're going to feel that gust of wind first. And you'll notice it's kind of not perfectly along with those showers and storms. I'll redo it just in case kind of we don't see any more development. But the reason I did that is because we could see things form a little bit out ahead of it. So we'll just kind of go along the leading edge for you guys too. Even though it won't make too much of a difference, but I want to give you guys the best look. So Cache around 10 o'clock, same for Union. Salem 10:04, Greenland 10:11, Walnut Grove 10:12, Midway 10:15, same for Rock Branch. Little Rock 10:25, Little Rock, Mississippi, not Arkansas, even though you guys are dealing with some of those severe thunderstorm warnings out there in Arkansas. Beach at 10:28. I think we'd all love to be at the beach right about now. Damascus 10:31, and same for Horseshoe and Balua. And we can actually kind of change this a little bit more, kind of to cut down on some of those and extend it further out, I believe. We'll go 20 miles here, just to kind of continue to give you guys a good heads up. So going past where we just were, Rock Branch around 10:16. Oh, there's Little Rock and Beach again. Around Damascus 10:31. Horseshoe. Oh wait, that didn't really, I guess we didn't really pick up on much. We're kind of getting in the sticks here in Mississippi. Of course, we kind of know how that works. I don't know if I feel comfortable going as far out to 40. I think we might as well just kind of wait for that. So we're still going to kind of deal with these warnings and kind of these showers and storms continue to push through North Mississippi. We've been dealing with that for a while. We're about to have to get ready for the 10 o'clock broadcast, and we'll continue taking a look at more model data coming on up. So that continues to be another thing to stay tuned in for as we get ready for the overnight period, and thankfully much drier air eventually funneling into North Mississippi. And unfortunately, before we can really start to enjoy that, we kind of have to get through this severe weather first before we can. So that's what we're going to continue tracking out here within the next few minutes. Before we start off our 10 o'clock broadcast, we're taking a look at these severe thunderstorm warnings, Matt, and looks like it may have frozen on my end. There we go. I think you're there. Still dealing with a few warnings. Can you hear me good?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm watching myself speak right now. Wow.
I don't know if you're running on a little bit of a delay. Ooh, you are.
Oh, this is
Am I as delayed as you are?
No. I can, when I hear you through my IFB, I can see you visibly saying that.
Ooh, I hope you're not as far behind as that looks there. I know one of the issues we got to fix there. But I'm telling you right now, I have the most ridiculous backward something kind of working here. So, well, we'll go ahead and we'll load in my 10 o'clock show. Then if yours is a little off like that, we'll play it by ear and pray to God everything works. It looks like news is all ready to go and everything's in there. Can you believe it? I'll let you do a push.
Look at us go.
We'll get rolling, and this might work. My only monitor I can see off is the side one, but sometimes that's the way it works. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get rolling here for our 10 o'clock broadcast. So give us just one moment to sort of come in and get that going. All right.